Hello friends, in this tutorial we'll be looking at character sprite sheet animation in Unity. We'll be using scripts to move the character left and right and use animator controller to control the animation. So if you find this interesting, consider subscribing. So let us begin. For this project I'll be using two sprite sheets. One is the Santa that moves to the right and the other is the Santa reverse that will move to the left. I have chosen the project mode setting to 2D. I have already changed the scene to sample scene. Now before importing our sprite sheet, let's change the color of our main camera. Now in order to change it, we click on this main camera and we select the background color and I'll change the color to say yellow. You can see it in the preview below. Now our game looks in this manner. I'll import both the Santa and the Santa reverse sprite sheets onto my assets folder. I just drag and drop those two images from the folder onto the assets folder. Now a sprite sheet is basically an image consisting of multiple frames. It helps in creating an illusion of movement by the quick passing of frames. So if you want to do any kind of animation in Unity, you need to make use of a sprite sheet. I'll start first by selecting the Santa reverse sprite sheet. Now before using the sprite sheet, we need to set some properties of the sprite sheet. Like for example, we have to change the filter mode to point, because we don't want any filter or any kind of disturbance in the image, and we have to change the compression from normal to none. Hit on apply. Now Unity can't make out whether this is one image or multiple images. So for Unity to understand this, we'll change the sprite mode of this sprite sheet to multiple. Click on apply. Now open this sprite sheet in sprite editor. Now my sprite sheet is of size 128 by 16. That is, its width is 128 and its length is 16. So each individual sprite in my sprite sheet is of size 16 by 16. So in order to slice this sprite sheet, I'll click on this slice. I'll change the type from automatic to grid by cell size. And I'll change the pixel size to 16 by 16 and hit slice. And finally click on apply. Now you'll see that the Santa reverse sprite sheet has decomposed into multiple sprites. Now since this is pixel art, I'll change the pixels per unit. Since this image is 16 by 16, I'll change the pixels per unit 16. So what this basically means is one Unity unit that you see here will be equal to 16 by 16. You have to click on apply. Now I'll do the same procedure to the Santa sprite sheet. I'll change the filter mode to point and change the compression to none. Change the sprite mode from single to multiple. Hit apply, open sprite editor and slice this image to 16 by 16. Click slice and click on apply. Change the pixels per unit to 16. Hit on apply. Now we have both our sprite sheets decomposed into multiple sprites. Now the first step is to move the character left and right without the animation. Now from the Santa reverse sprite sheet, that is the Santa moving left sprite sheet, I'll select one of the sprites and drag it onto the scene. I'll reset its transform. I'll change the name to character. Now inside my assets folder, I'll create a new folder, name it scripts, and here I'll create a new script and name it movement. I'll open this up in Visual Studio. Now I need to make this Santa move left and right by the click of the arrows on the keyboard. I'll use the left arrow to move left and I'll use the right arrow to move right. Now in order to access those keys, I'll have to use the input.getAxis method. So in order to get the reference to the horizontal axis, we'll use a vector 3. Vector 3 horizontal is equal to new vector 3, and inside of this method I'll write input.getAxis horizontal. I just need the x-axis or the left and right moment, so I'll set the y and z to zeros respectively. Now in order to move the character, I'll have to write transform.position is equal to transform.position plus horizontal, and since I'm writing this in update method, this code will be executed each frame. So in order to smooth out the movement, I'll have to multiply it with time.delta time. Coming back to Unity, I'll select the character and I'll just drag and drop this script onto it. Now when I play the game, if I move left on the keyboard, it will move left, and when I move right with the keyboard, it will move right. So this is about the basic movement of the character without animation. We still need to make animation objects from the sprite sheet that we imported before. So click on the character, go to Window, Animation, and Animation. I'll dock this to the bottom. Now before creating the animation, we'll go inside the assets folder and create a new folder and name it animation. We'll first focus on moving the character to the left. So I'll click on create, new animation, and I'll go to the assets folder and click on animation. So this will be the folder where my animation will be saved. I'll name this animation to go left and click save. Now the sprite sheet associated with moving left is Santa reverse. What I'll do is I'll select the second character till the fifth character and drag and drop it onto the animation timeline. Now if I run this, you'll see that my Santa is running very fast. So in order to slow him down, I'll change the frame rate to say 12. Click enter and now hit play. So now you can see that its movement is much better than before. So what the frame rate does is, the frame rate is the amount of frames that plays in 1 second. So when it was set to 60, the frames running in 1 second was 60. Hence the animation was appearing to be very fast. Now for this move left animation, we'll also need an idle state when the Santa is not moving. So for that, we'll create a new animation. We'll click here on the drop down, create new clip, and inside the animation folder, we'll create the new animation named idle to left. Click save, and then we'll drag and drop this first sprite onto the animation timeline. We'll repeat this procedure with the move right Santa sprite sheet. So what I will do is I'll create a new animation and name it go right. I'll drag and drop the sprites from 2 to 5 onto the animation timeline and change the frame rate to 12. Click enter and test. You can see that it's working properly. Once again, I create an idle animation for the Santa when he's facing to the right. So I'll create new animation or create new clip and write idle to right. Save. I'll select the first sprite from the sprite sheet and drag it to the animation timeline. So now we have the animations set up. So if we go inside the animation folder, you'll see that there are various animations that we just created. One thing to make sure is that all the animations should have their loop time selected to true. Now we have all the necessary animations: go right, go left, idle to left, and idle to right. Now we need to tell the Unity which animation to play and when. This is decided by an animator controller. Now when we created the first animation, that was go left, at that time itself an animator controller got attached to our character game object. So the animator decides which animation should play and when. This animator decides the states in which the character will be in. It will change states based on the inputs that we give. Like for example, if we press on the keyboard keys, click on the character, go to Window, Animation, and go to the animator. Here you'll see the various animations that you created. What I'll do is I'll click on the idle to right animation, right click on it, and set it as the layer default state. That means whenever I start playing the game, my character or Santa will be facing to the right and he'll be standing idle. So the first state that it will enter is the idle to right state. I'll just organize this a little bit. Now let's add a parameter. We'll select the type to be float and change the name to character state. So I have created a parameter named character state of type float. Now we have created this character state parameter in order to set conditions for the character or the Santa to move to the left or to the right. So first, from the idle to right state, we want the Santa to go right. So what we can do is we click on this idle to right, right click on it and click on make transition, and just take this arrow to go right. Select on the line that joins both these states, and here you see some properties. Expand the settings property, untick this fixed duration checkbox, and set the transition duration to 0. Here in this conditions, I'll just click on the plus sign. I have the parameter character state. So when the character state is greater than 0, then it should go to the right. What I'll do is I'll click on this go right, right click on it and select make transition and take the arrow back to the idle to right state. When the player lifts his finger from the right key of the keyboard, the Santa character should stop and the direction he should face is to the right. Hence I have taken him back to the idle to right state. I'll select on the line that links them both and once again untick this fixed duration and set the transition duration to 0. And in the conditions property, we need to set it less than 0.001. You might feel it a little bit interesting that we don't have a value for equal to 0. That is, when the user lifts his finger from the right arrow key, then the return value will be 0. So such a condition does not exist for the floating point conditions. So hence I have taken a value which is really close to 0. So if the character state has a value that is less than 0.001, then the Santa character should go back to the idle to right state. I'll do the same thing from idle to right to go left. So I'll right click on it and click on make transition and select it to go to left. Once again, I'll click on this line joining these both. I'll untick this fixed duration property and set the transition duration to 0. And in the conditions property, I'll just click on the plus sign and here I'll set it that if it's less than 0, then it should go to the left. And when the user removes his finger from the left key of the keyboard, then the state that it should go to in is not to the idle to right but to the idle to left. That is, now the Santa should be facing to the left. So I'll click on the go left, right click on make transition and take it to idle to left state. Click on the line joining both, untick this fixed duration and change this transition duration to 0. And here in the character state property, we'll make it greater than minus 0.001. That is, if it's close to 0 or when the user has removed his finger from the left arrow key of the keyboard, then it should go to the idle to left state. So now if we test our game, you will see that the animations are not happening. That's because we haven't set the parameter value. We have to set the parameter value in the script. So let's go back to our script. Here we'll declare an animator variable that will access the character's animator. So for doing that, I'll just remove the start method and write public animator character anim, and the update method I'll write character anim dot set float. Now inside the brackets, I'll write the name of the parameter that I have created, character state, and I'll assign it to input.getAccess horizontal. So what we are doing is we are accessing the animator component of the Santa character, and we are setting the float value or the parameter of it, and the value that goes inside the parameter that we have created here in the animator window, and the value that goes there is the value of the input.getAccess method. So it will be either less than 0 or greater than 0 or equal to 0. Save the scene and come back to Unity. Go back to your character. Now you will see that there is an empty slot in the character anim. You just need to drag this animator component onto it and click on save. Now if I run it and go left, there seems to be some kind of a mistake. Let's check the animator controller. The name of the parameter is character state, where S is capital. In our script we have kept the S to small, so let's make it capital. Coming back to the project, let's run our game. When we go left, it's going to the left, and if I release the key, it's going to the idle state where it is facing to the left. Now we need to set one more condition here, that is when we are facing to the left and we are clicking on the right arrow, then we need to go to the right. So we again have to make a transition from idle to left, that is click on make transition and take the arrow to go right. Select the line joining these both, expand the settings, untick the fixed duration, change the transition duration to 0, and the condition is already set that it should go to the go right state. So now if I run this, you'll see that it is going to the right, stopping. When it's going to the left, stopping, and again going to the right. So this is how you do a character animation in Unity. If you got any help from this video, then please give a thumbs up and do consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you for watching and keep learning.